When buying new bulls for the upcoming season, there's some things you may want to do before putting them in the pasture. South Dakota State University Extension cow-calf field specialist Taylor Grussing has a checklist for managing your new bulls and helping them succeed.
So when we bring new bulls home to an operation, it's usually a good idea to adjust them from a concentrate ration to a more forage-based ration, as they won't be getting delivered feed in a feed bunk anymore. And when we turn them out to pasture, obviously they'll need to be able to travel, maintain weight, and get their nutrients out of the grass. And so adjusting them to more of a forage-based ration is one of the first things we want to do leading up to the breeding season. And we also want to keep them gaining weight at about 1.5 to 2 pounds a day, which will hopefully set them up to a body condition score of a 6 as we go into the breeding season.
The bulls also need to get accustomed to each other to ensure they spend more time breeding and less time fighting.
Anytime we bring new bulls to an operation, we always want to make sure that they are adjusted to each other. And so this should take place prior to the breeding season in a structurally sound pen, so that way they can kind of determine the pecking order of themselves, as younger yearling bulls may not get along with the older mature bulls. And also when we go to turn them out to pasture, then we can consider doing pasture breeding situations with maybe multiple yearling bulls in a pasture together, or we can have some of the mature bulls only in a pasture together, so that way we aren't having maybe some of that social dominance issues. But we also know that sometimes we only buy 1 or 2 yearling bulls a year and we need to mix them with mature bulls. So as long as they've seen each other and kind of adjusted to each other before the breeding season, hopefully we'll have a successful pregnancy rate.
Taylor suggests watching the new bulls while they're in their pens, as well as getting them checked over by a veterinarian at least 2 months before breeding season.
Structural integrity of the bulls is very important to assess prior to the breeding season as well as through the entire breeding season, as we need them to be physically fit and sound on their feet and legs in order to travel the pastures and breed the cows successfully. We can start assessing this in large pens if they're in the dry lot prior to the breeding season, but we also want to make sure the veterinarian is checking that out during their breeding soundness exam. Breeding soundness exams should take place at least 30 days, if not 60 days ahead of the breeding season. This is because the spermatogenesis process takes 60 days to occur, so any kind of injury or insult that may have happened 60 days ago could be affecting the semen quality of those bulls. And so if you can assess if the bulls are in good semen quality ahead of the breeding season, then we will have time to replace bulls if they do not pass the breeding soundness exam, or also just have the confidence that going into the breeding season your bulls are ready to go.
Taylor also stresses that the breeding soundness exam is very important because it will ensure the bulls are viable and ready to be bred.
The breeding soundness exam will assess the physical conformation of the bulls as well as the semen quality with motility and morphology. So as I mentioned, they'll assess the vision, smell, legs of the bulls, as well as measure their reproductive organs or palpate their reproductive organs. And then they'll also take a semen sample, and this will assess the motility and the morphology of the semen quality. And bulls need to have at least a 30% motility score to pass a breeding soundness exam, and that's with progressive head-first movement of those sperm cells. And then they also need a 70% morphology score to pass the exam, and this is with normal sperm cells that would be physically capable of fertilizing the ovum. So they have to have a 30% and a 70% to pass, and if they don't, they can be retested in 2 to 4 weeks to potentially allow new semen to mature. But also, if they fail, then they can hopefully be replaced by that breeder before the breeding season starts.
For more information on introducing new bulls to your operation, contact your local extension office. Reporting for Market Journal, I'm Maddie McIntosh.